Hi there, welcome to another episode of Vision Quest. My name's Ashley Appap, if you don't know me. Hello, new friend. I'm a writer and comedian from Melbourne, Australia, and this is my podcast where usually I have a guest on and we answer some questions where I get to know them a little bit more, and then they have the second half of the podcast to talk about something that they care about, whether that be, it could be something as simple as their favorite cereal or a family member they love, their favorite band, favorite movie, social issue that they care about, a philosophical thing. It can be anything. And about 10 episodes ago, I did a solo episode where I talked about my chronic pain. And so I'm thinking maybe I'll just make this a thing that every 10 episodes, it's just me, baby. And I want to do something a lot lighter than the last one. And right now, as I'm recording this, today it's the 30th of March 2021, and it's right in the peak of the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I personally don't have a show that's running. I'm doing a couple like stand-up and improv spots around the town, as they say, but I'm trying to just like see as many things as I can and get inspired to do my own stuff. So it's been a really full on time, but it's like perfectly timed to now just like have a little kind of stream of consciousness episode where I just chat and talk about something I care about. And if you've looked at the title, this one might not be for everyone, but that's the whole point of this podcast. It doesn't matter. We're celebrating things that we like. And if you're watching this also, you've been watching this or listening to this, you've noticed some changes. My hair is now partially orange, and I love it. I feel like a completely different human being. I feel cool as heck. I feel hot and cool. So hot and cool sounds like I'm talking about temperature, just the way I feel, baby. And I'm also now living not in my parents' house. Wow. So that's something to celebrate. And that's the update that we have here. But like I said, I want this one to be like literal stream of consciousness. I don't think I'll even edit this. This is just going to be what it is, because there's no need for me to research this topic. I'm wearing a t-shirt right now that has the subject matter of this episode on it. Here we have my boys, the Jonas Brothers. Here we go. So this image is from when they got back together and they announced it. They used to make these dumb YouTube videos. They basically were the original Viners or TikTokers, okay? They would make like 1-2 minute videos, and they made one where one of them like walked into a room and picked up a table and turned it around, and someone else came out and was like, well, how the tables have turned. And they did that again. But then a big banner came down that said hello again, which is what is on the t-shirt that I'm wearing for those people who are listening. Is this a good thumbnail? Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the Jonas Brothers. Love them very much. I know that that's like maybe, an uncool thing, but I don't care. And they are not what you think they are, okay? So I'm just basically going to tell you about them and my journey with them as a fan, and also like the things that you think about them that are untrue, okay? So basically, I started listening to them in 2007. I was 13 years old, perfect age. And the year before, 2006, questionably worst year of my life up to that point, I was like 11. Oh wait, so I was 12 when I discovered them. Even better. But yeah, I was like 11 and had a really horrible year. I was bullied a lot. I was really upset. I think I was like depressed, but I was quite young. I didn't know what that was, and I felt very alone and scared and sad. And then the next year, I found all these things that made me feel really like understood and seen, like the Jonas Brothers, John Mayer's music. I got back into Hanson. Always loved Hanson. Watched the Goonies. Watched Empire Records. The Mighty Boosh. I don't know why these specific things made me feel understood. I guess because they were, along the same vein of the way that I thought and felt. So that was really good. But the Jonas Brothers album, self-titled album, Jonas Brothers, was the first one that I got deep into. I, of course, like most other people out there, saw their Year 3000 video on the Disney Channel in between High School Musical marathons. Of course, I didn't have Foxtel, which is cable in Australia. So I would go to friends' houses and watch it. And I remember we were at a family friend's house, and I remember watching the Year 3000 video and being like, what? Who are these? Who are these excitable, cute boys? And I think I went to JB Hi-Fi like the next day and bought their album and found it and was like, hell yeah. And that is still my favorite Jonas Brothers album. My favorite song of all time is on that album, of the Jonas Brothers, not my favorite Jonas Brothers song of all time, Games, which low-key has a reggae beat, but it is the most underrated Jonas Brothers song of all time, in my opinion. And yeah, just became a full-on fan. Didn't know anyone else that even knew like any of their songs. And I was very self-conscious about the weird things that I liked then. I was still annoyingly like, this is me, but I wasn't like publicizing it and, you know, making a fucking podcast all about the weird things that people like. So much more confident about it now. And I remember getting to year 9 and becoming close with my friend Steph, because she was at a different campus, and figuring out that she also liked the Jonas Brothers, and like their next album had come out and we like bonded over that. And I remember the song Shelf was like our song. And it was just, I just knocked my computer. Sorry, everything just shook. It was just very, very, very nice and sweet to have a comrade in that fandom. Then we cut to 2012, so the next year. Oh, that's not how time works. 2010, sorry. And I met my friend Ali, who was on another episode. I'll link her episode here. We talked about Summerland, and we were at a Halloween party, and someone put on a Jonas Brothers song, was on shuffle, and I freaked out and she freaked out, and I was like, wait, you like the Jonas Brothers? She's like, oh my God, I'm a diehard fan. And I was like, me too. We bonded over that. Spoiler alert, we got to see them live together in 2019, so I'll get to that. But yeah, so I have these two friends, and our friend Meredith as well. Meredith's also really into the Jonas Brothers. Praise be to that. Praise be to her. But yeah, it was this thing where I really thought no one else knew what this music was, and it's not. This is gonna sound so like preachy and lame, but they're really just wholesome boys who have like the songs of good messages, and especially for like someone at that age who was like bullied and sad, hearing these like nice songs like Hold On especially, but like lots of songs from that album, and being like, oh, it's hard. Now knowing the context of why that time was hard for them, which I'll get to, full circle moment. You know, it was very encouraging. So then, like I said, been a diehard fan since. They've never come to Australia, despite them having a song called Australia and saying that the girl of their dreams is from Australia. Bit sus. And then I, you know, kept loving them so much, being a deep fan. Then 2013 they broke up. Broke my heart. Then 2017 I moved to the US. 2019, start of 2019, they get back together. I buy this top, obviously. Then they announce their tour. I'm like, I need to buy tickets immediately. But before the tour was announced, Wango Tango was announced and they were doing a spot. And Ali was going to be in LA at the same time. We freaked out. We bought tickets. We went. We had the best time of our lives. And then I subsequently, is that the right word? Anyway, I decided to, after that, go see them 3 more times by myself. Once at the Hollywood Bowl, which was I think maybe the opening show of the tour or the second show of the tour in LA. And it was incredible. Like I wept and sobbed, and they sang a song from Camp Rock. Oh my God. It was just incredible. There was fireworks, there was skywriting, the set list, everything was incredible. And then I saw them 2 more times in, I think December or October. They had added 2 more shows, and then they were going to do a Vegas residency in April of 2020. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going. Then of course, COVID, that got cancelled. I'm feeling very lucky to have seen them as many times as I had anyway. But now, that's my story with the Jonas Brothers, you know. I'm a huge fan. My phone background is a picture of Joe Jonas, because he's of course the best brother. And, you know what? Now I'll just get into like a little bit about the bros, if you don't know them. Basically, of course, we've got the oldest one. We got Kevin, a beautiful boy. Just wants to be with his family and like have his own life and be independent, you know? The underrated one, but also like he's also kind of like, you know what? I've been through things. I'm happy to do my own thing. And there's my king, Joe, the funny one, the sensitive one, the selfless one, if you will. Obviously, things that I am deeply attracted to. And the hottest one. And he's the hottest one, okay? He's beautiful. And he's funny. And hot. And then there's Nick, you know, the serious one. The control freak. The, I don't know what we have to say about him. If you are a Nick girl, you have daddy issues. And then there's Frankie, who's not in the band, but apparently he's done weird stuff. Like I've been seeing some on TikToks. I don't know. But like I said, I want to just like dispel some myths. Myths? I don't even know if that's true. The best way for you to find out any information on the Jonas Brothers, if you don't already know, is to watch their Amazon Prime. I'm doing like an official plug for them. Their Amazon Prime documentary called Chasing Happiness. Oh, and the songs on that. They sing a song called Jersey that was like not released yet, but they just put it in the credits of the documentary. And everyone was like, what the fuck is this? It was so good. Oh my God. The documentary kind of goes through all of this, but this is just some cliff notes for you if you want to know, because you really deserve to know, and you really should. And at this point, if you're not a Jonas Brothers fan and you're listening to this, I salute you, and please keep listening because you will become one by the end of this. I doubt. I'm sure anyone who's like jumped into this has been like, why am I listening to this? And you have the prerogative to do that, okay? But if you are still here and you're not a Jonas Brothers fan, I love you and thank you. And you're welcome. Basically, everyone thinks that they were like these like Disney cookie cutter kind of like machine manufactured boy band, which is not true. They were, I think Nick would have been maybe 12, 13, 11 even when they started. They basically were doing like shows in food courts in malls and shopping centers, school assemblies. Their parents were like, basically they would drive them to wherever they had to be, like within the tri-state area, because they lived and grew up in New Jersey. And they would like drive them to the shows. Well, their dad would. Their mum would be home looking after Frankie, who was a baby at this point. The dad would like drive them to wherever they had to go. And they basically said in the documentary, like they would drive to wherever they were going, like just say it was Philadelphia, and all the way back and go to sleep, and then in the morning go back to Philadelphia, rather than get a hotel, because paying for the gas in the car was cheaper than a hotel, and that's all they could afford at the time. The parents were like putting all of their money into helping the boys. Oh, chronologically I've messed up. Before this, basically, their dad was a pastor at a church, which I know is like a big thing. Everyone talks about the purity rings. And they started making this music. There was nothing bad about this music, but it was like, some of it was about girls and just whatever. And they basically said to the Jonas Brothers' dad, Papa K. Jonas, as you may know him from Instagram, that if his sons were making music, it needed to be Christian music. And he was like, I don't see the problem with anything that they're making. And they basically said, well, then we're turning against you. This community of people who they grew up with, the house they lived in was next door to the church where he worked. And they fired him. They fired the dad because the son's music wasn't Christian. Fucked. And then they lost their home because their home was like linked to the job. And they like had no money after that because the mum couldn't work. She was looking after the baby. And he was kind of like, what work can I get? Like, I've been a pastor for most of my life. I've been a pastor. What kind of pasta? Penne, rigatoni, linguine, mamma mia. They are Italian. So they then had to move into this little house that friends were letting them stay in for really, really cheap. And that is the time where they wrote the Jonas Brothers self-titled album, where they were like miserable. There were the four boys sharing one room. It was like I think it was a 2-bedroom apartment or something. And they were really, really poor. They were super in debt, and the boys still were like wanting to make music. And the dad kind of realized, like, I guess we'll just like put all of our like savings on them, which maybe is a lot of pressure, or I can't remember chronologically if that had already happened. They'd already been like doing the shows and stuff. They definitely had. They did it for 2 full years, like every week, grinding their butts off while, you know, going to school and having lives. And then the dad said, I think there was something like $90,000 in debt. And they had, I think, got the attention of Columbia Records maybe, and they had a label, and then they dropped them like right around the time where the dad lost the job. They lost their house, and then the label dropped them, and then that's when they made this album, which was the best album and still is in my opinion. And then they had made, when they were with the old label, they had made the Year 3000 video already, but it wasn't attached to them. It was like kind of something that they did that they never put out. So they were like, why not just like put this out? We've got it. It's ready. We're not doing anything at the moment. We may as well put it out there. And that is when someone from Disney saw that video and were like, can we buy this and have it be one of the things that runs in between our scheduled programming, which is like how I saw it, how a lot of people saw it. And then from there it went on to TRL, which was like, I mean, you probably know what TRL is. If you don't, it was like this music MTV thing where a lot of artists at the time kind of like blew up. And then I think it was in New York, in like Times Square, where they filmed it and you could see people in the streets from like the windows in the background. And that is how they blew up from there. And then it was like hit after hit after hit kind of for them. And then they released that album. And I think they had been offered by Disney to make that album. And they said, come to LA and we'll make this album for you. And they were kind of like, they explained in the documentary, it's like, it wasn't even a point of like, oh my God, we've got our big break. They were like, oh yeah, we have to do this because we have no money. And if we don't do this, what else are we going to do? We need to do this for our family. We need to do this for us. And also they're excited to be able to do what they wanted to do and like live their dreams. But they were at a point where they were like, yeah, absolutely. We will take anything and we need to take this. And they were so broken. They basically explained that like the first 2 or 3 years of them like gaining success was spent just like saving money, giving money to their parents, like helping their family and making sure everything was okay and not even like living it up. And then I think within that time was when Joe got offered Camp Rock, and then the dad said, if he's gonna be in it, I want all 3 of them to be in it. Even Frankie was in it too. And then things got bigger and bigger from there. And from there onwards is probably when they became, you know, super wealthy and like successful in the way that people know them now. The purity ring thing happened, and they basically explain in the documentary as well, like that they had them when they were like, they got them when they were young because everyone else was doing it in their like youth group or whatever. They were like, I don't fucking know about any of this. Like, I think Joe even basically said, I don't think I even believe in this, you know, I don't know. I was 15, it was what everyone was doing. We didn't actually think about the fact that it meant that we wouldn't have sex. Like, we just were like, everyone's wearing it, yeah, cool, whatever. But we thought about girls constantly. Like, Joe went with a fan to the movies and made out with her. Imagine being her. I have imagined it. So sad that wasn't me. I probably would have been like 11 at the time, so probably a good thing, you know. But yeah, so there's like all this build up of them getting popular and stuff, and then that happened. South Park did that episode where they talked about their purity rings and apparently just like shattered their confidence and stuff, as it would. And then everyone was saying, you know, they're this like produced Disney boy band thing, and it's like, no, they were like grinding for a hard 2 or 3 years. And in that time, Nick got diagnosed with diabetes and was like pushing it and was like, no, I'm going to the shows, I'm going to do the shows, while like staunchly thin and like wasting away because they didn't know what was wrong with him. And then they found out it was diabetes, and he like rested in hospital for like half a day and was like, no, we need to go do the next show. Like, they're very hardworking people. And they were like a pop punk band before they were like a boy band, honestly. Especially if you listen to that first album, I know that I was like, there's reggae in some of it. There's weirdly reggae throughout a lot of their music. Some reggae beats. I'm not mad about it. It just you wouldn't think so, but when you listen, you hear it. And then, from that point onwards, their success kind of climbed and climbed and climbed. And then, of course, Nick got a big head because he was the youngest one who's so used to this being life. And in 2013, they had already, by this point, they were on the second season of Jonas LA, which was this show that they did for Disney Channel at this point. So it was like 5 or 6 years into them being really successful that they even had a Disney show. And they kind of didn't want to do it. They just kind of were like in this rhythm of being like, well, we can't say no to anything. We're so used to, we know what it's like to have nothing, and we don't ever want to be there again, and we need to keep working hard. We've got these fans that love us and are loyal. We don't ever want to let them down. We just want to say yes to every opportunity that we're given because we never know when this is going to end. And I think by the second season of it, they hated it. And Nick had, I don't know if he had already done Broadway. He was about to do his Broadway stint in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which I saw with Steph, my friend that I said, in year 9, we figured out that we loved them. We went on a school trip in 2012 to LA and New York, and we saw it on the day we arrived. And we were so fucking tired. And we were like, we need to keep our eyes open. It's Nick Jonas. And she's a Nick girl. So, I was like, you have to, you need to do this. This is a big moment for you. And then he kind of was like, around this time in the Jonas Brothers timeline, was like, I'll do my own thing. The band's done. And he just assumed the other brothers knew like what he was feeling and talking about and felt the same way, and they had no idea, of course. And there's a scene in the documentary where Joe explains that he explains that he never saw it coming. He's like, I couldn't believe my brother was doing this, but not just because he was my brother, because he was my best friend. And he was like literally taking away my favorite thing in the world, my dream, my job, my career. Like he was like ending it. And he starts crying and it breaks my heart. Anyway, so then they kind of all go in their separate ways. Nick has his like solo career that starts to kick off, which is like so frustrating. Would be so frustrating for the other brothers. Kevin just kind of like disappears and is like, fuck this. They all stop talking, I think, pretty much for like a good year. Or at least talking to Nick, I don't know. And then Joe has like a solo album that does really badly, and then eventually creates DNCE, and that obviously goes really well. And then Kevin starts doing like tech stuff, apps or some shit, I don't know. And then Nick's in Jumanji, I guess. And then it goes to, I think 2018. It's like they started talking again, and they decided they went through like, I think, family therapy, and were like, there's this scene in the I think even in the trailer for the documentary where it's the dad being like, there are brother bands that have broken up that don't speak to each other. It's like, yeah, okay, we're talking about Oasis, we get it. And they like do all this stuff to kind of like repair their relationship. And I think they said that we just like traveled together for a year, which if they actually just went on like a year-long holiday with their brothers, I couldn't do that with my sister. I love her very much, but that's a year. I don't know if they meant like they took a full year and they like prioritized traveling around other things, I don't know. And then they kind of decided, and it was Nick who, of course, brought them apart, brought them back together, and was like, I miss making music with you guys, and like, what if we did it and we just did it and just said, let's do it and hope that it's fun, and as soon as it's not fun, we don't do it anymore. And here we are in 2021. Apparently there's another album that's fully recorded, but they just haven't released it because of COVID and other stuff. But yeah, then they released in 2019, Happiness Begins, incredible album. I mean, there's some hits and some misses, obviously. It's no Jonas Brothers self-titled, but Hesitate, Strangers, Roller Coaster, Come Back, Happy When I'm Sad. Even, the classics Suck are cool. It's just so good. I'm so happy for them, and I'm so happy for me, honestly. And like 2019, even though it wasn't, the bitch that was 2020, for me personally, was pretty bloody intense and hard, and like full of rejection from jobs and things like this, and lots of stress and trying to figure out what was going to happen in the next couple of years for me. Obviously, none of that matters anymore. But all this stress and having that, like, I made a conscious decision to be, when I found out they were getting back together, I was like, if they're touring, I am going to spend as much money as I possibly can. I don't care how much it costs me, on seeing them as many times as I can, because I know it's going to be like, I will never, ever, ever regret it. It's like when I saw Hamilton. I saw Hamilton with the original cast with Steph again. Many shout outs to Steph today, as she rightfully deserves. We each paid 900 Australian dollars for a ticket to see the original cast of Hamilton, and we were in the very back in the balcony, and it was worth every penny. And they announced that week that it was like 5 of the original casts last week, including Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then people were reselling tickets for $30,000. And my dad was like, what the fuck are you doing? Resell your ticket. And I was like, I'm going to go, and it's going to be worth it. I'll never regret it. And that's exactly what happens. My playbill is framed up on my wall. Okay. No regrets when it comes to this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I spent like most of 2019, poor, just making sure that seeing the Jonas Brothers and going to Disneyland, of course, were my priorities. And now I'm so glad that I did, because imagine if I hadn't, and then, you know, a few months later into early 2020, I had to come home and was like, I didn't even get to see the Jonas Brothers, you know? And they, like I said, they've never been to Australia. They better fucking come to Australia. They said that they would. And I'm sure when it's possible again in a couple years, safe, they will. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that I did that and listened to my gut and just went for it. I know it might sound very stupid to some people, but their music is very wholesome and helpful for me when I'm feeling bad. And I can't emphasize enough, watch the documentary, because I'm really not explaining it in the right way. I know that I was like, you're gonna be a fan of them. If you're not, you might not. I haven't done a great job explaining it. Maybe I shouldn't do something where it's stream of consciousness. Maybe I should edit things. Clearly I should, because this kind of is a mess, but that's fine. You'll forgive me, I'm sure. But you'll see if you watch the documentary, and if you just like hear the earnestness in my voice, that they're just like wholesome, nice boys who care about each other, their family, they have good values. They just want to like make music for the sake of music now that they've gone over that hurdle of greed Nicholas, and they like really are just like a positive message. And there's all these moments where they talk about the fans and say like, I think the reason why they like took off so well is because so many fans resonate with the fact that a lot of literally the messages of their songs are just like, hold on, just like keep going. And even like the lovey-dovey songs, like they're not like grotesque. Obviously now that they're older, they're all in like their late 20s, 30s. There's stuff about sex, obviously. That's what it should be. Get laid, boys. Get laid and get paid. But, you know, there's ultimately like a lot of, you can feel they're really good values and morals at the core of everything. And they care about their fans, and they care about each other. And I care about them, damn it. This is a lot. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to think of what else I can touch on about them, because there's so much knowledge in my head, and I'm just trying to give like the bare minimum, the cliff notes, you know. This is almost half an hour, and I only really wanted it to be half an hour anyway, but I'm just like, what's important that I have missed? Joe always wanted to be a sketch comedian. How great is that? He always wanted to be on Nickelodeon. What's that show? All that. Oh God, I'm forgetting. I'm such a bad fan. Oh, but he always wanted to be a sketch comedian or a stand-up comedian. And then in his show Cup of Joe, he did that, and he was okay. I mean, imagine being on stage and cheered at like so loudly by thousands of people every night, and then doing stand-up. You'd probably have a false sense of confidence. But he didn't actually. He was very humble and very beautiful. And he's a beautiful baby. I mean, I don't know if she's beautiful. No one's seen her, which I respect. And that was a cough for you. I don't know how to end this because I'm not editing it. So I'm just going to say I'm going to give you some recommendations. I'm going to give you some Jonas Brothers recommendations to listen to right now. Okay. If you are feeling down, listen to Hold On by the Jonas Brothers. Okay. Listen to Happy When I'm Sad by the Jonas Brothers. Listen to Come Back. Listen to, I'm trying to think of like in between songs. No, you know what? Let's scratch that. Let's do happy songs. Shelf. Shelf will bop you up. Listen to Don't Speak. Don't Speak is the most underrated Jonas Brothers song of all time, in my opinion. Games. Classic. We've got Take a Breath if you're feeling bad. Listen to Take a Breath. I'm missing like whole albums because I'm just trying to think out loud without having to like look anything up, and I'm missing so much. Oh, A Little Bit Longer. If you've got chronic pain or any kind of health issue, listen to A Little Bit Longer, which is about Nick's diabetes. Listen to that's not the name of a song. All right, I'm just going to wrap this up because my brain is shitting itself. I hope someone listened to and or watched this. And if no one did, I get it. I get it. And I salute you. Once again, I'm Ashley Appap. If you want to see anything that I'm up to, my Instagram's at @AshleyCrapApp. I post everything there. So that's where all the information is. My link tree will be in the links wherever. We got Twitter. We got TikTok. We got Twitch. I haven't been streaming a lot recently because there's a lot going on, but I will be back to a regular schedule soon. And if you're in Melbourne and want to see gigs that I'm doing, once again, go to my Instagram and post everything there. And I'm, more consistently doing shows now. So that's really exciting. And I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are, being safe. I'm going to take a big sip of my water. The reason why I did that big cough is because I have not drank any water yet today. So here we go. Refreshing. Stay safe, everyone. Have a lovely day wherever you are. Bye.